one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. We will get started with resolutions. Albert, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. Whereas Isabel Catherine Reichert Dish, 10B Club Drive, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove existing stairs leading from bulkhead to beach, remove and dispose of 144 feet of existing bulkhead, construct 144 feet of new bulkhead consisting of 125 feet of face with a 19-foot return, install rock armoring in front of new bulkhead consisting of one row of 2-ton rock on bedding stone, remove and dispose of existing 29-foot 6-inch by 6-inch retaining wall, construct 29 feet of stone retaining wall and 36-foot stone retaining wall consisting of 1 to 2-ton stone. Remove and dispose of existing approximately 74-foot jetty, construct new 72-foot jetty in kind in place, construct new staircase leading from bulkhead to beach, in kind in place as per plans submitted by Costello Marine, last revised November 27, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to sections 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 6:02 p.m. prevailing time on the 7th day of April 2025 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed construction. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas Karen Lissikers, Mayor, 66 Peconic Avenue, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island to remove and dispose of approximately 37 feet of the existing most seaward T&G bulkhead, construct approximately 37 feet of new bulkhead in kind in place of existing bulkhead, maintaining existing elevation of existing bulkhead, backfill void areas landward of the new bulkhead with clean trucked and fill as per the plan submitted by Costello Marine, dated December 17th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 6:04 p.m. prevailing time on the 7th day of April 2025 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed construction. So moved. Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, April 7th, 2025 at 6:08 p.m. to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 53 entitled Docks to update the code to address current environmental conditions, of which provides as follows. And this is our fourth pass on the dock legislation. I'm not going to read the, I don't know how many pages, because it's a markup, it's a red line version, and it goes through page 23. Yeah. So I'm not going to read all those pages. It is available at the town clerk's office and online for those who wish to read the latest draft.
Fourth time's a charm, right?
That should hopefully be it. And so I will just read the part where we're going to set the public hearing, but that's it. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
whereas on March 6, 2025, the town engineer appeared in front of the Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board, WQIAB, to make an application for funding of $32,500 for the costs associated with implementing the recommendations contained in the Fresh Pond in-water body nutrient control feasibility study related to the pilot phase of the project, with an estimated cost of $325,000. Whereas the town of Shelter Island has an interest in improving and protecting water quality in the various water bodies of the town, including Fresh Pond. Whereas Fresh Pond, a town asset, is accessed by the public via an adjoining upland parcel, which was purchased with Community Preservation Fund monies, Turcom's Rest Preserve. And whereas the water quality of Fresh Pond has deteriorated due to excessive phosphorus levels. Whereas the town has received a grant from New York State Water Quality Improvement Program not to exceed $260,000, and the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association has committed to gift $32,500 towards this project. Whereas WQIAB on March 6, 2025, voted 4-0 to recommend to the town board that said costs be funded from water quality improvement funds. Whereas prior to any expenditure of community preservation water quality improvement funds pursuant to section 50-33B, the town board must determine that the proposed project is consistent with the Community Preservation Fund Water Quality Project Plan. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to schedule a public hearing for April 7th, 2025 at 6:10 PM, prevailing time for the purpose of determining whether to utilize Community Preservation Water Quality Improvement Funds for the costs associated with implementing the recommendations contained in the Fresh Pond in-water body nutrient control feasibility study relating to the pilot phase of the project. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
let's see if I got this right. Whereas Scott Goodson, 14 Margaret Drive, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for a wetlands permit to legalize an existing work within the regulated area and install a new IA system as per the denial site plan last revised February 20th, 2025, and sanitary plans last revised April 11th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 129-7 of the Code of Shelter Island, a public hearing will be held on the 19th of May, 2025 at 6:02 prevailing time in Shelter Island Town Hall, Shelter Island, New York, for all interested persons to be heard in favor or in opposition of the proposed application. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be it resolved that the following work sessions of the town board of the town of Shelter Island will be held at 1 PM in the Shelter Island Town Hall on the following dates: March 25, April 29, June 24, July 29, and August 26, and September 30th of 2025. So move.
Second? All in favor?
Discussion, is this the meetings that were going to be held, the town board sessions in the evenings,
The work
The
session.
work.
work sessions?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just correcting that,
Yes.
no problem, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas Marilyn Crandall Jones and Charles S. Crandall, care of Crandall Shelter Island LLC, 6 Summerfield Place, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring at location designated as 41.08778 degrees north and 72.35690 degrees west. And whereas the public hearing was duly held on the 24th day of February, 2025, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the mentioned installation. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the town board of the town of Shelter Island, town board, has reviewed the application for the proposed commercial building at 17 North Ferry Road in the town of Shelter Island, New York, proposed action, and whereas the proposed action includes, 1, the demolition of the existing garage and the construction of an approximately 4,804 square foot building to support a lawn care and landscaping company, first floor 3,179 square feet of storage and maintenance / workshop, and 819 square foot break room on the second floor, 806 feet of office space. 2, installation of 19 parking spaces. 3, installation of a 6-foot-high stockade fence around the perimeter of the site to shield views of the site from neighboring properties. 4, installation of a new innovative and alternative on-site wastewater treatment system, and a new private on-site water supply well would be installed towards the northeast corner of the subject property. And 5, the installation of a stormwater management plan, including gutters, leaders, and dry wells, would be installed to accommodate a 2-inch rain event.
And whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR, Section 617.4, 6 NYCRR, Section 617.5, and Section 60-12P3 of the Town of Shelter Island Town Code, the Town Board reviewed the proposed action and has preliminarily determined that same is an unlisted action, and whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617.6B4, coordinated review is optional for unlisted actions and was not undertaken by the Town Board. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board hereby designates itself as lead agency pursuant to the implementing regulations of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, specifically 6 NYCRR, Section 617.6B4, with respect to the above described proposed action. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Shelter Island, Town Board, has reviewed the application for the proposed commercial building at 17 North Ferry Road in the Town of Shelter Island, New York, proposed action, and whereas the proposed action includes, 1, demolition of the existing garage and the construction of approximately 4,804 square foot building to support a lawn care and landscaping company. First floor, 3,179 square feet of storage and maintenance workshop, and 819 square feet break room. Second floor is 806 square feet of office space. 2, installation of 19 parking spaces. 3, installation of a 6-foot-high stockade fence around the perimeter of the site to shield views of the site from neighboring properties. 4, installation of a new innovative and alternative on-site wastewater treatment system, and a new private on-site water supply well would be installed towards the northeast corner of the subject property. And 5, installation of a stormwater management plan, including gutters, leaders, dry wells, would be installed to accommodate a 2-inch rain event. And whereas the Town Board declares itself lead agency for the proposed action pursuant to the implementing regulations of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, specifically 6 NYCRR Section 617.6B4. And whereas the Town Board, as lead agency, has caused to be prepared parts 2 and 3 of the full environmental assessment form with a supplemental analysis that's prepared by PW Grosser Consulting, Inc. And whereas the Town Board has reviewed the aforesaid fee form, supplemental analysis letter, and of no impact from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, permit issued by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and other relevant information, reports, plans, and assessments, and agrees with the contents therein. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board, as lead agency for the action complemented herein, after review of the proposed action and 6 NYCRR Part 617, hereby determines that the above described project is an unlisted action. And be it further resolved that based upon the information contained in the fee and other relevant information, the Town Board, as lead agency for the action complemented herein, and after due deliberation, review, analysis hereby, determines that the proposed action will not result in significant adverse impacts in the environment, and hereby adopts the annexed negative declaration. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'm assuming I'm a little confused because I have these documents that don't seem to coincide. So we're picking up whereas.
Yeah, whereas special permit.
Okay.
for
Okay. Whereas the applicant for the special permit seeking plan approval to construct a commercial building was submitted on behalf of Liberty Lawn and Landscape LLC on September 10th, 2024. Whereas the proposed action includes demolition of the existing garage and construction of approximately 4,804 square feet of building to support lawn care and landscaping business. The first floor, 3,179 square feet of storage, a maintenance shop, and 819 square feet of break room. On the second floor, 806 square feet of office space in accordance with the proposed site plan, Liberty Lawn Care, 17 North Ferry Road, Shelter Island, New York, 11964, plan drawing C1, and accompanying site and building plans submitted by the applicant prepared by Matthew Sherman, last revised August 6, 2024. Whereas the projected site sanitary flow is 224 gallons per day based on Suffolk County Health Services design standards of 0.6 gallons per square foot for 819 square feet of break room, 806 square feet of office, and 0.04 gallons per day square foot for 3,179 average of storage room. The innovative alternative wastewater treatment system, IA, would be installed in the southwest corner of the proposed building. Additionally, the projected site water usage is also 220 gallons per day, which would serve as a private on-site well to be installed toward the northeast portion of the subject property. Whereas the proposed action would increase the impervious area by approximately 0.35 acre and include installation of drainage structures, dry wells size for 2-inch rain event pursuant to the Town of Shelter Island Watershed Management Plan. Whereas by letter dated September 17, 2024, the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historical Preservation indicated that it had reviewed the project in accordance with New York State Historic Preservation Act of 1980, Section 14.09 of New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historical Law, and it is in their opinion, no properties, including archaeological and historical resource listed or eligible for New York State and National Register of Historic Places would be impacted by the project. Whereas the proposed sewage disposal and water supply was reviewed and approved by Suffolk County Department of Health on August 8, 2024. And whereas the notice of disapproval was issued by the Town of Shelter Island Building Department on August 13th of 2024, stating that Shelter Island Town Code Section 109-12-8 provides that in cases where site plan approval is required, no building permit shall be issued except upon authorization and in conformity with the plans approved by the town board. Whereas the subject application was referred to the town environmental analyst and the Conservation Advisory Council and the planning board, the reports therefrom were issued dated January 2nd of 2025, January 7th of 2025, and February 13th of 2025 respectively, have been taken into consideration. Whereas on March 17th of 2025, the town board declared itself a lead agency for the purpose of environmental review and reviewed the full environmental assessment form dated March 4th, 2025, and determined that the proposed action would not result in significant adverse impacts on the environment. Whereas on January 27th, 2025, there was a public hearing held on the subject application where the public comments were received and taken into consideration. And whereas pursuant to the Town of Shelter Island Code, Section 133-8B, 1 parking space per 200 square feet of the interior building space and part thereof is required, and we result here in 24 required parking spaces. The proposed development plan includes 19 parking spaces and thus requires a parking waiver. Whereas the town board has reviewed the application with regard to the standards reviewed and enumerated in Town Code Section 109-3. Now therefore it is be resolved that the town board finds the project meets the standards enumerated in the Town Code 109-3, and proposed project will not impair the general public health, safety, and welfare, the comfort and convenience of the public in general, and the residents of the immediate neighborhood in particular. And resolve that the town board hereby waives the minimum parking space requirement of code section 133-8B, 8, as only it pertains to this application. And resolve that the town board hereby approves the proposed site plan, Liberty Lawn Care, 17 North Ferry Road, Shelter Island, New York, 11964, plan drawing C1, and accompanied by the site and building plans submitted with the application prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman, last revised August 6, 2024. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas a wetlands application was submitted on behalf of Andrew Marks dated September 17th, 2024, seeking a permit to demolish an 18-square-foot storage bin located 93 feet from the wetlands, demolish 40 square feet of outdoor shower located 104 feet from wetlands, demolish approximately 697 square feet of covered porch located 72 feet from the wetlands, demolish various retaining walls, walkways, and a pond located at their closest point 73 feet from the wetlands. Abandon the existing sanitary system by pumping the system clean, followed by removal of the system and backfilling the remaining excavated area with clean, compatible sand in accordance with Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Requirements located at its closest point 119 feet from wetlands. Construct a 153 square foot, one-story addition located 93.9 feet from the wetlands, constructs approximately 1,271 square feet of covered porch located 76.7 feet from the wetlands, construct a 144 square foot porch inset in the porch instead of 101 feet from the wetlands to install a new innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment system, i.e. consisting of one treatment tank and 4 leaching galleys with room for 50% expansion in accordance with Suffolk County Department of Health Service requirements, located at their closest point 102 feet from the wetlands. Relocate existing AC units approximately 90 feet from the wetlands, construct various walkways, retaining walls, and a ornamental pond located at their closest point 75 feet from the wetlands at residentially developed property containing a dug lagoon connecting to Cuckles Harbor and containing town and state regulated tidal wetlands. In accordance with a survey prepared by William Howard Wright, dated March 18, 2022, last revised March 14, 2024, and then 1155 Lowry Lane Plan, Sheet A11.00 and A211.00, prepared by Henry H. Rizala, dated May 24, 2024. Whereas the subject premises contains 93,118 square feet, or 2.13 acres, and is located on the northeast side of Lowry Lane, partially within FEMA flood zone VE elevation 10, AE elevation 7, and outside of the flood zone. Whereas a notice of disapproval was issued by the Town of Shelter Island Building Department on December 13, 2023. Whereas a permit modification was issued by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation on October 16, 2023, to authorize the installation of dry wells and an innovative and alternative on-site wastewater treatment system to replace an existing septic system. Whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, the project is a Type 2 action. Whereas on January 27, 2025, there was a public hearing held on the subject application where public comments were received and taken under consideration. Whereas the subject application was referred to the town's environmental analyst, the Conservation Advisory Council, and the Planning Board, and reports therefrom were issued dated December 15th, 2024, December 6th, 2024, December 21, 2024, and respectively taken into consideration. Whereas the town board has reviewed said application with regard to the standards of review enumerated in Town Code Section 129-5, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds that the project meets the standards enumerated in Town Code Section 129-5, the proposed project will not create a risk of impairing the function and value of the wetland and buffer, diminish any wetland in size unless the approving authority finds that the proposed activity is water dependent or requires access to the wetland as a central element of its basic function and will result in a minimal possible alteration or impairment of the wetlands. Negatively impact the quantity and quality of groundwater, create a net increase in the risk of runoff, and resolve that the town board further finds that there are no practicable alternatives which allow the project to be constructed outside the regulated area, and the applicant will voluntarily implement within 3 months of the issuance of the permit adequate mitigation measures that will contribute to the protection and enhancement of wetlands and wetland benefits. Resolved that the town board hereby approves the issuance of a wetlands permit to perform the proposed demolition, construction, and installation at 7 Larry Lane in accordance with a survey prepared by Walter Harold Wright Jr. dated March 18th, 2022, last revised March 14th, 2024, and then 1155 Larry Lane plans, sheet A111.00 and A211.00, prepared by Harry H. Rizkala, dated May 24, 2024, on the following conditions. Number 1, demolition and reconstruction of the existing dwelling is prohibited. Number 2, prior to the commencement of construction, a continuous lined wire-backed silt fence shall be installed in a trench at a depth of 6 inches. The screen shall be maintained, repaired, and replaced as often as necessary to ensure that it functions properly until all disturbed areas are permanently vegetated. Number 3, all work, any work, or disturbance and storage of construction materials should be confined to the area outside of the adjacent regulated area, 100 feet from the wetlands. Number 4, leaders and gutters shall be installed and piped to dry wells as shown in the site plan. Number 5, a 20-foot wide vegetative buffer shall be restored with variable native vegetation characteristic of the area. Number 6, all areas of soil disturbance resulting from the project shall be revegetated immediately upon completion of the project within 2 days of the final grading or by the expiration date of this permit, whichever is earliest. If revegetation is impractical due to the time of the year, then final revegetation shall be performed as soon as weather conditions allow. Number 7, prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, an application for a final wetlands inspection shall be filed. Number 8, such additional native vegetation shall be planted and such other restoration measures shall be implemented as may be required by the town board or its designee in the event upon final inspection it is deemed necessary to achieve the goal of establishing a contiguous, healthy cover of native vegetation within the designated areas. Number 9, proposed driveway shall be constructed of permeable materials. Number 10, the storage or overwintering of decks, ramps, floats, boats, or other watercraft within the required wetlands preservation area or naturally vegetated wetlands, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer is strictly prohibited. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the wetlands application was submitted on behalf of Marina Hahn dated July 24th, 2024, seeking a permit to demolish an existing 1,288 square foot, 1 and 2 story dwelling located 67.1 feet from the wetlands, demolish a 97 square foot rear porch located 62.5 feet from the wetlands, demolish a 17 square foot shower located greater than 75 feet from the wetlands, demolish a 36 square foot entry located greater than 75 feet from the wetlands, abandon the existing sanitary system by pumping the system clean, followed by removal of the system and backfilling the remaining excavated and disturbed area with clean, compatible sand in accordance with Suffolk County Department of Health Services requirements, located 7.3 feet from wetlands. Construct a new 2,074 square foot, 2-story dwelling located 67.1 feet from the wetlands, a 210 square foot deck and steps located 60.7 feet from the wetlands. Construct a 294 square foot second floor covered porch located approximately 64 feet from the wetlands. Construct a 527 square foot rooftop deck located approximately 64 feet from the wetlands. Construct a 40 square foot basement entry located greater than 75 feet from the wetlands. Construct an outdoor shower located greater than 75 feet from the wetlands. Construct a waterside entry deck located 60.1 feet from the wetlands. Install a new innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment system consisting of 1 treatment tank and approximately 40 feet of distribution trenches, with room for 50% future expansion located at the closest point, 33.8 feet from the wetlands. To install a new water supply well located greater than 100 feet from the wetlands at residentially developed property fronting Cockles Harbor and containing town-regulated tidal wetlands and improved with stone retaining wall. In accordance with the Han Helper 70 Tuthill Drive site plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman dated July 24th, 2024, the 70 Tuthill Drive vegetative plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman dated July 25th, 2024, and the Tuthill residence drawing pages A100, A101, A200, A201, A300 prepared by Michael A. Lamont dated June 13th, 2024, and updated drawings A200, A201 dated January 31st, 2025. Whereas the subject premises contains 7,085 square feet and is located on the south side of Tuthill Drive, partially within FEMA flood zones X and AE, elevation 10. Whereas a notice of disapproval was issued by the Town of Shelter Island Building Department, January 18th, 2024. Whereas a letter of no jurisdiction, Tidal Wetlands Act, was issued by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation on May 28th, 2021. Whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, the project is a type 2 action. Whereas January 27th, 2025, there was a public hearing held on the subject application where public comments were received and taken under consideration. Whereas the subject application was referred to the town's environmental analyst, the Conservation Advisory Council, the Planning Board, and reports therefrom were issued dated October 29th, 2024, September 20th, 2024, November 12th, 2024, and respectively, and taken into consideration. Whereas the town board has reviewed said application with regard to the standards of review enumerated in Town Code Section 129-5, now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds that the project meets the standards enumerated in Town Code Section 29-5 as inter alia, the proposed project will not create a risk of impairing the function and value of the wetlands and buffer, diminish any wetlands in size unless approving authority finds that the proposed activity is water dependent and requires access to the wetlands as a central element of its basic function, and will result in the minimum possible alteration or impairment of the wetlands, negatively impact the quality or quantity of groundwater, create a net increase in the risk of runoff, and resolved that the town board further finds that there are no practicable alternatives which allow the project to be constructed outside the regulated area, and the applicant will voluntarily implement within 3 months of the issuance of the permit adequate mitigation measures that will contribute to the protection and enhancement of wetlands and wetland benefits. Resolved that the town board hereby approves the issuance of a wetland permit to perform the proposed demolition, construction, and installation at 70 Tuthill Drive in accordance with the 70 Tuthill Drive site plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman dated July 24th, 2024, the 70 Tuthill Drive vegetation plan prepared by Matthew Benjamin Sherman dated July 25, 2024, and the Tuthill residence drawing pages A100, A101, A200, A201, and A300 prepared by Michael A. Lamont dated June 13th, 2024. On the following conditions. 1. Prior to the commencement of construction, a continuous lined wire-back silt fence screening shall be installed in a trench at a depth of 6 inches in accordance with site plan drawing C1.1. The screen shall be maintained, repaired, and replaced as often as necessary to ensure that it functions properly until all disturbed areas are permanently vegetated. 2. The premises shall include a 5-foot crawl space rather than a full basement. 3. The applicant shall install a 5-gallon per minute well pump. 4. No dewatering shall be allowed during construction. 5. The waterside deck shall be reduced to 110 square feet. 6, leaders and gutters shall be installed and piped to dry wells as shown on the site plan. 7, a 20-foot wide vegetative buffer shall be restored with variable native vegetation characteristics of the area. 8, all areas of soil disturbance resulting from the project shall be revegetated immediately upon completion of the project within 2 days of final grading or by expiration date of this permit, whichever is earliest. If revegetation is impractical due to the time of year, final revegetation shall be performed as soon as weather conditions allow. 9, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the application for a final wetlands inspection shall be filed. 10, such additional native vegetation shall be planted and other restoration measures shall be implemented as may be required by the town board or its designee in the event upon final inspection it is deemed necessary to achieve the goals of establishing a contiguous, healthy cover of native vegetation within the designated areas. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the term of Roxanne Dubouvier as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on September 20th, 2024, and whereas Roxanne Dubouvier has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Roxanne Dubouvier is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20, 2026. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Whereas the term of Petter Larson as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on September 20, 2024, and whereas Petter Larson has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Petter Larson is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20th, 2026. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
whereas the term of Paulette Van Rankin as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on September 20th, 2024, and whereas Paulette Van Rankin has expressed willingness to continue to serve in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Paulette Van Rankin is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council for a term to expire on September 20th, 2026. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
whereas the term of Ulrich Ambrust as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council expired on January 11, 2025, and whereas Ulrich Ambrust has expressed willingness to continue to serve in a capacity, and whereas Conservation Advisory Council members are normally appointed for terms of 2-year terms, this appointment is made to align term expirations to the same month and day annually. However, this seat will revert to a 2-year term. Now therefore be it resolved that Ulrich Ambrust is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council to a term to expire on September 20, 2025. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the superintendent of highways has requested permission to dispose of equipment, now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby declare the following equipment surplus: 1 wood chipper, 1 New Holland mower, 1 2005 Chevy C70 dump truck with plow and salt spreader, 1 2005 Durango, 1 1997 Ford Windstar van, 1 52-foot enclosed trailer, 1 2006 Chevy 200 pickup with plow and liftgate, and 2 highway 8-foot salt spreaders. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Uh-huh.
Dispose, what does that mean?
No, we can have him come in tomorrow to talk to us, but generally he would put it out on municipal to see if there's any other
Right,
township
okay.
vicinity who would want to
Does
purchase it
anybody,
from us.
okay.
And then if no one wants to purchase, depending on some of this, what the condition is, then he would just dispose of it.
Okay, so he's coming to, okay.
Yeah, I mean, do you want him to come in?
Yeah, just to talk about, I don't know, just to understand.
Okay, all right, we'll ask him.
If it's worth anything or where, what is it?
Mhm, What
know.
his plan is with each of these.
What's the
Yeah,
plan?
but Yeah, generally that's the municipal bid, then dispose. Yeah, just, get rid of, junk.
Submit to the question.
Yes, junk it.
Is it being replaced?
A lot of trucks back.
Yeah, he's getting rid of some old stuff. We'll have him come in tomorrow to specifically go over this. That's it on discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Whereas the town board has determined the community center, 1 Bateman Road, is the best location for conducting elections and early voting on Shelter Island. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute an agreement with the Suffolk County Board of Elections to permit the conduct of elections and early voting at the community center in 2025 with an option to renew for 2026. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the town of Shelter Island recognizes the need for an efficient and effective enterprise content management system to manage its documents and records, and whereas Laserfiche has been identified as a suitable provider for such a system, and whereas the town has reviewed the terms and conditions of the agreement with Laserfiche and finds them to be acceptable, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to sign the agreement between the town of Shelter Island and Laserfiche for the enterprise content management system. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion.
Okay.
I don't know what this is really. I kind of know what it is, but I don't have any information on it. Where am I?
This was, Amber had presented to us, she's trying to get us up and running with Laserfiche so that more documents can be uploaded and be public facing, so that it's rather, we won't have as many FOIL requests if we can start to upload more documents.
Answer these more quickly.
Yes, yes.
It creates a digital archive of all the documents that we receive, and then it gives us the ability to scan all the documents that we have in storage to add to this archive, so it's searchable and the public can access it and search for documents themselves.
So who's using it? Just the town clerk?
She would be the start.
Police department was involved in this.
Well, they
Remember
have-
the conversation?
Building department uses a part of that system, I believe.
They use.
It's-
Everyone will be using the system,
Right.
but for digitizing, it's going to be in stages. So my office right now, I have many things digitized already that I could already implement into this program, and then we would just phase everything in as we go.
Amber, do you need any additional equipment to go along with this?
Eventually, that will play into each piece. Because building department has larger maps, it will require other materials, but as for now, we can still move ahead with a lot of the documents as is.
What's the other equipment?
It wouldn't be equipment. Later on, we would try to get the grants and have a vendor come in, but we would still need this cloud-based software to put it front-facing for the public. Everything was circulated months ago.
No, I know. I would have liked to have just had a discussion, that's all.
Okay,
With
understood.
you and whomever.
Fair enough.
Is there an annual fee with this?
There is an annual fee. I am trying to pull it up.
The implementation,
I think it was
It's the-
3,000.
right, yeah, that sounds about
Is
right.
that a fixed number annually or is it subject to change?
The initial setup is, I think, slightly less than 7,000. I mean, it's less than 10,000, including the first year annual fee. And that money has been encumbered because Amber did not have an intern on her office. She chose to forego having an intern and start to implement this instead.
Do I address this to Amber? I'm just going to ask her a question. Amber, I thought we had delayed this because we needed people to support the system. I didn't know it was coming before the board. I thought this had been put on hold because we needed to have a group of people or a vendor come forward to do the mechanical work.
Eventually, we will, but as of right now, the vendors that I've spoken to, it would not happen this year. But either way, we would still need the software to move along.
When we get it all I guess what I'm trying to understand is that we're approving this on the basis when you get everything together, it will be implemented. Is that what we're doing? So it may not be taken
I
right now.
have things that can be implemented already.
She's going
The
to.
harder things, we will need vendors to come in.
Okay, and we have funding for that, or is that a grant program
That's the grant that she was talking about.
Yeah,
that we have,
So-
we're looking for right now?
Correct. I'm trying to push it along. I do not see the deadline being met this year.
Okay,
but there's things that can be done to get things up and running and get us ready and familiar with the software
Okay.
to keep moving forward.
So bottom line, it's a multi-year project and
Oh,
we're getting
yeah.
started now.
Oh, definitely,
Listen.
yes, yeah. And this had been circulated to the town board a couple of times.
Yeah, it was like 4 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, I think even last month as well.
We had to keep getting a new quote because it was for discussion. It was back and forth between town boards. Some of you answered yes, go ahead. Some did
Yeah.
not. So I had to keep getting revised proposals because they expire with 3 weeks between
Okay.
receiving.
Okay.
thank you, Amber.
Thanks, Amber.
Amber, sorry you're sick. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carried.
Ben, did you go with this?
I just want the laser fish. You're next.
Yeah, I guess I'm. And be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute an agreement between the town of Shelter Island and Jennifer. It's a tough one to pronounce. How do we say that one?
Goshen,
What is it?
Goshen,
Jam Goshen, LCSW for provision of professional clinical supervision services. So moved.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $3,105 from the A3120.491 PD contracts account to AtScene LLC for the subscription of iCrime Fighter with a contract term of April 25, 2025 through April 25, 2026. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $722.22 from the A2025 A3120.491 PD contracts account to Car Business Systems for the copier base rate charge with a contract term of January 24th, 2025 to January 23rd, 2026. So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $200 from the PD contracts account to iConnective for the contract term of April 11th, 2025 to April 11th, 2026. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, let's read it first. Be it resolved that the following funds are hereby encumbered from 2024 to be expended in 2025 with 2024 funds to wit, $8,381.42 from the A1680.276 IT computer equipment account for surveillance cameras and Xerox Ultralink color multi-function printer, $10,000 from the A1680.476 IT computer maintenance account for ICC Community Development Solutions, Laserfish. I guess that goes to the above. $6,442.56 from the A3120.200 Police Department equipment account for Federal Eastern International. $6,387.21 from the A8160.434 landfill hazardous carting fee account for MX1 Environmental Services. $571.92 from the A8160.435 landfill hazardous waste facilities maintenance account for MX1 Environmental Services, and $7,200 from the DA5140.448 Highway CLD training account for Victor CLD services. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to credit the sum of $300 from Suffolk County for towing and storage to the A3124.457 PD towing and storage account. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance has issued a notice of vendor collection credit to the town of Shelter Island for the period ending February 28, 2025, in the amount of $26.86. Woo woo.
I was thinking the same thing.
Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to transfer the sum of $26.86 from the trust and agency account to the general account. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that the following 2025 budget modifications hereby approved. $14,118.95 increase to the 2025 A2680 insurance recovery revenue account to be funded by the reimbursement check for NYMAR for claim number TSHI 2025-004-001 for the E450 Senior Center bus, and a $14,181.95 increase to the A2025 A6777.408 Senior Center maintenance account. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next resolution is be it resolved that the following 2024 budget transfers are hereby approved. And there is a page and a half of cleanup transfers between accounts that is available online or at the town request of the town clerk. I'm not going to read all of them. So moved.
Can I get a discussion here?
Yep.
I'm not familiar with any of these transactions. I know we've dealt with this in the past, okay? I would just like to have a little understanding of what these are all about, because when I look at them, some of them came to light. I don't understand what, I don't understand some of the transactions here. I don't understand how things go from the assessors as a part-time assessor to a professional service. There's some numbers here that seem to be, I don't understand that enough. How do I get better explanation of it?
We have, Shelby and I have been working on a spreadsheet that shows we've got accounts that have overages, such as the assessors never ended up hiring a part-time assessor or only ended up using like one person for a little while before they left. So we had an overage in that category. We were short in professional services, primarily legal services, especially towards the end of the year. So by law, we have to make sure we cover those underages. So we look at where we have overages and kind of balance things out.
So between departments, like the Department of Public Works, like there's a one on page 10, which is 11,000. It goes from parks, benches to town hall and other buildings. So these things, you're able to take overages from the highway department or the park or our Department of Public Works and put it towards town buildings?
Mhm.
I thought that when you could only transfer within that group.
You are looking at the old version, the draft version, so.
Page 34.
I'm just trying to find the line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it is, both of them are A accounts. And so A1490 is a Department of Public Works account. And so 409 is the actual account number, Parks and Beaches, and it's moving to an A1490, which is Department of Public Works, 414, which is the account number, Town Hall and other buildings.
And like this other one is for 35,000. It says a council person. I guess was budgeted for, but there's excess funds in that account. So that now is being applied to the Capital Projects Fund for Congdon Creek Dock. I thought Congdon Creek Dock, we did,
but we had money set aside in capital projects. By the time that went out to bid, prices had escalated, so we were short in that category. And we weren't going to actually go ahead with the Condon Creek dock unless we knew we could find money from elsewhere. Since we never filled the fifth board seat last year,
Right.
we said, okay, we have money here available, we can actually do this project.
And I just ask that in the future that somehow or other we could spend a few minutes so I can better understand these transfers, okay? Because I really don't understand it.
This is all last year kind of cleanup, as you'll see in the next budget transfer. And we periodically do, during the year transfers. Shelby and I have been working to do a better job, and some departments will come in and say, okay, I'm not going to buy that copy machine that was scheduled for me, I want to use it for this instead.
So this doesn't go to the fund, these overages don't go into the fund balance.
Correct.
Okay, so you're applying it to someplace else. Okay.
Yes. And in some instances, such as the professional services, I mean, we can't predict what legal fees we're going to have in a given year. You just never know what's coming at us. So we have a contingency account where we pull from. When we run out of contingency, then we would actually have to pull from fund balance. But if we do have departments who haven't expended their funds, we can do a transfer from those departments instead of pulling from fund balance. I mean, it all.
I know the last, I don't want to belabor this, but I think it would be good if we could sit down and talk about this before we have a public hearing, okay? Because I don't understand it. Meaning I'd like to have a better understanding of it rather than just having it and then talking about it at a public meeting, okay?
Yeah, definitely for 2025, Benjamin had asked previously if we could have reasons for these. This is somewhat of a cleanup, and last year the accountants did it in, I think it was the June 3rd meeting, because I had printed out because there were because the contract accountant did the transfers, there were transfers that were made that were incorrect. And so we did not want to have that happen again.
So I noticed the professional services that's in the budget. Okay, that's attorney fees. What actually is I haven't been able to pull that apart.
I have an analysis on that.
Okay, would you?
During the budget season, I went through and said, this is what we expect legal fees to be, this is what we expect.
Okay,
Environmental consulting fees.
No, that was in a different category, but the grant writer, there's a whole host of things. So I have that breakdown that I did at budget season that I did discuss with the.
you think there's a possibility this coming year that we could pull them out as a separate item, rather like legal fees as one item, consultants, this way we know the consultants, hopefully when we get this new resolution passed, will be being reimbursed for some of our consulting fees. I'm just asking that
And we
question.
put the wetlands ones out, and there actually should be B fund fees, so we've actually budgeted them in the B fund this year. The problem with, we can definitely track them all in different categories, but when we budget for a category, and then legal fees, we go over, then we're starting to do more transfers. So that's why historically we have grouped them together. If it's board's wish, Shelby can create more accounts.
We'll-
It creates,
Thank you.
does create more work for the staff.
At the risk of beating a dead horse, I
Mhm.
only bring it up because it's a good example of it here, because I've asked for this before. In the piece that I read, the resolution that I read, the one in the middle, the 64, 42, 56.
Which, are you on this resolution or?
No, the one
past?
that I read. One resolution, yeah.
On page
Oh,
33.
encumbrances.
Yeah.
Okay. Encumbrances are different.
Yeah, because it just says $6,500 from police department equipment account to Federal Eastern International. For like a couple more words
Oh, okay.
would just make it really easy, rather than have to take this and then go in my head, match it up to another report that I got 3 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, the staff did it as they normally do it. And so they didn't
Federal
get it.
Eastern
But,
International got more flashlights, more
I-
bullets.
if you had given me a heads up that you had a question, I could have brought those sheets, the encumbrance sheets in. So,
Okay. Just in the future, a couple
Yes.
more words and there won't be any questions.
okay. All right, so back to the resolution
Yeah.
before us.
See it resolved.
No,
We have to
No, no.
vote. We have to vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carried.
Now, be it resolved that the following 2025 budget transfers are hereby approved. $3,522 from A1010.496 Town Board, Association of Towns, to A1010.497 town board, professional services to cover projected overage and interim attorney fees with, with unspent Association of Towns Conference. So that was well done.
I heard you on that request, so for 2025, we're going to do that with explanation. And we're going to do them more timely, so we don't have a list such as I
Yeah.
have.
So Association of Town Conference costs. Then there's $824 from B8020.490 Planning Board Association of Towns to B8020.497 Planning Board to cover projected overage and professional fees due to outstanding wetlands applications with unspent Association of Towns Conference costs. $14,137.50 from A1420.100 Town Attorney salary to A1010.497 Town Board Professional fees, professional services. We need more explanation.
No, and,
And 600, no, but,
no,
yeah.
if you get the and, you get the
Okay.
explanation.
And $650 from A1420.10 Town Attorney salary to A1010.480 Board of Ethics Professional Services to cover interim attorney costs. Oh, there you go. Yeah, say it twice, a little bit above. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
be it resolved that the 2024 general claims number 2688 through 2713 in the amount of $20,764.72, and the 2024 claim number 371 in the amount of $2,474 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and any town board member hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payment of same. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
To be resolved that 2025 general claims number 263 through 434 in the amount of $183,503.68. 2025 highway claim number 9 through 40 in the amount of $43,743.13. And Community Preservation Fund claim number 3 in the amount of $292.50 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and/or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payment of same. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, so that concludes the regular business part of the meeting, and we will now move on to public hearings. Just get my- All right, so the first one is a public hearing on the wetlands application of Barbara Ludeman. Amber, are you okay to go ahead and read that public notice?
Yes, that's fine.
Great.
On the application of Barbara Ludeman, 15 Bayshore Drive, for a wetlands permit to remove existing family dwelling, retain, retain existing foundation and floor deck, construct new dwelling on same footprint with no increase in SFLA, replace existing decks with awnings, with covered porches within regulated areas, existing swimming pool, patio, well, and IAOWTS buffer vegetation to remain as per site plan submitted by Sherman Engineering, last revised 11/25/2023.
We have a report from the planning board. Anybody?
I can do it.
You got it? Okay,
Yeah.
I've got it too, but I just figured I'd let a liaison do it.
I will read the recommendations and conclusions. We appreciate the proposals for a relatively modest, single-story, 3,932 square foot home, and not a request for a major expansion of SFLA into the wetlands. One could argue an alternative would be to construct further landward to get more out of the regulated area, but that would require a new foundation. Using the same foundation in the same footprint would have less impact on the environment in our view. We appreciate the roof runoff collection system that is sized for a heavier 4-inch rain event. We recommend a well-installed wire-back silt fencing between the work activity and the wetlands that is towed into the ground 6 inches. We recommend the addition of a slow draw 5-gallon per minute pump due to the potential for saltwater intrusion in the Silver Beach area. The expansion upward over the deck will need a ZBA approval since the expansion is in the setback. With these considerations above, we are in approval of this application. Respectively, the planning board.
We also have a Conservation Advisory Council report. Their findings were 3. The LPG tank and well should be on both the survey and the site plan. 2, locate stormwater wells clear of the 100-foot wetlands on the north side of the building. Excuse me. And relocate the dry well for the swimming pool, if there is one. If not, install one according to section 113 of the building code. Excuse me. And then we do have Teresa Mason on to give us her report.
Good evening, Teresa Mason on behalf of the town board. I have a report dated January 23rd, 2025 regarding the project. In my report, I identified that the parcel is located on West Neck Creek, which, as you know, has some water quality issues that were identified in the town's water quality watershed report. My report does recommend the exploration of practicable alternatives, including moving the house landward of the vegetative buffer pursuant to Chapter 129. The code does say practicable alternatives that are constructed entirely outside of the vegetative buffer are presumed to have less impacts on the wetlands than projects that do not meet the standards unless the applicant has demonstrated otherwise. So I think it might be worth the exercise to the effort to go through it and determine whether or not the impacts would be less if they kept the existing foundation. As a reminder, having the existing house that close to the wetlands, you are generating a lot of runoff immediately adjacent to those wetlands. For any project that gets approved, whether it's landward of the vegetative buffer or as atop the existing foundation, we are recommending the establishment of an expanded buffer to cover those portions of the parcel within 15 feet of the wetlands. And we are always recommending that those buffers be formalized through covenants so that future property owners are put on notice that they are not allowed to touch those areas. Let's see. Sorry. Sorry. The pool enclosure fence should be moved to be located landward of the recommended buffer. And we are also recommending several other items for mitigation as outlined in page 3 and through 5 of my advisory report.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Do we have anyone here on behalf of the applicant?
Good evening. My name is James Eklund. Unfortunately, Matt Sherman, who we would love to be here tonight, has family obligations and will not be. We do have myself and the designer and the person who actually initiated most of the permitting here with us tonight. So if there are further questions that I can't answer, perhaps they will be able to. I'll just run through sort of an overview of the project. It really began in 2022. An IA was installed on the landward side of the property, which obviously mitigates the nitrogen runoff into the adjacent creek, which is a very good benefit. It became apparent that there was a slight ZBA need. There was an encroachment into the neighboring property by a few feet. So the applicant did make a ZBA application, And then it became apparent that she also needed to make a wetlands application. So to that end, these things were done. And I'll just run through a couple of the pertinent points. As has been mentioned by the planning board, and I think the actual application, the footprint remains unchanged. The use remains residential. The coverage of, in the regulated area remains unchanged. The IA system has been installed to landward. There's no increase in the usable volume of the building. It's essentially swapping out one ranch house for another. The one that is going to be the replacement does have a greater roof pitch by about 4 foot more than the existing dwelling. But the actual usable volume in the building itself is actually diminished because of the building code requiring 2x6 framing. So you have like 2 inches all around the perimeter of the house is encroached into what was the space that was available. There is the reuse of the existing foundation is, certainly using the embodied energy of what exists as opposed to increasing the disturbance in the regulated area. If you were to remove that foundation, it would certainly create quite a bit of disturbance in that area. The new roof, the roof that replaces the awning, the fixed awning that was that exists now, actually does have a water collection system. The whole runoff collection has been designed for a 4-inch rainfall to collect 100% of that. So that, I think, is a great benefit as far as having runoff mitigated. Moving the house, as I say, would certainly result in a greater disturbance of the area. But also there would be an impact because it would necessitate relocation of the IA system. And it also impacts the separation of the neighboring wells. Any push landward would impact those wells. The existing vegetative buffer is going to remain in place. Of course, as per usual, there will be a wire back silt fence installed, 6 inches into grade. And in this case, it'll probably be a double fence. And I think that hits the high points of Matt's presentation. Any questions?
Any questions from the table before? I see Teresa has her hand up, but any questions from the table before? Yeah, Teresa, go.
Just one. You've confirmed that you can reuse the existing foundation?
Yes.
Okay. Because I can foresee that being a condition that if for some reason you can't use that
It was
foundation.
surveyed by, I believe it was Nick Mazzaferro. Could speak to that? Excuse me, you want to speak to that?
Good afternoon, board. My name is Jim Rich, and I did most of the design work on this house. We have had it inspected by licensed PE, Nick Mazzaferro, and we feel the foundation is adequate. Along those lines, to build a similar size house back from the waterfront, in my opinion, would require in the neighborhood of 24 trips with a 12-yard ready mix truck, and probably the same coming out with all the debris installed. So you're talking about a significant amount of traffic, significant amount of disruption to the property, as well as having to dig a whole nother foundation, refill this in. I think any thought that the environmental advantages of moving the house back are mitigated and destroyed by the damage that it would incur to move it back. And for the record, I am also a chairman of the Southtown Planning Board, so I know what you go through on these hearings, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Teresa?
James,
I just gonna follow up and say, my report did recommend that if you are considering reusing of the existing foundation, that we get an engineering report that certifies that the foundation is capable of supporting the proposed dwelling. And in this particular instance, he says he has an inspection, and so we should get copies of that for the record. And then any condition, if you elect to proceed with allowing them to reconstruct atop the existing foundation, it should be conditioned on no demolition or reconstruction of the foundation. And in the event that they commence construction and the foundation is not able to support, that they must stop work immediately and contact the town for further guidance, if that's how you elect to proceed.
Thank you.
We can supply that report.
Thank you.
And just to say that, you know, if this house were to be relocated landward, in all likelihood, it would probably become a 6,000 square foot house, you know, or 599 square foot house. You know, it's something that, you know, I think using the embodied energy of what's there is a good alternative to getting rid of it. And the fact that it's been there since probably 1959, most of it, is another good reason historically.
James, the waterside elevation, the two decks that are across the waterside, they're being built out now, not just replaced. They're being built out into conditioned space.
No, they're in the same spot.
In the same spot, but
Yeah,
it's going to be conditioned space.
No, it's not conditioned space. No.
Covered porch.
The covered porch. Instead, right now, there's a fixed awning, which has no runoff collection, but the hard roof over this open porch will have water collection.
Okay. So the decks are just going to be replaced and then a
The
covered
decks are
porch?
going to be replaced. I'm not sure that the framing will be replaced because we don't know what it looks like, but if it's usable, we won't replace that. There's some consideration about if there's any treated lumber in up below grade to replace that with concrete.
So it looks like on the elevation plan that these all have sliding doors across the face of them?
There'll be doors sliding, I think they're sliding, right?
Yeah, there's sliding doors, but they're in the exist. Do I have to come forward?
Yes, please.
Sure. Again, James Rich for the applicant. The front wall of this house, the waterside wall of the house, the heated area does not move. It's in exactly the same place. Some of the wall it's all going to be removed down to subfloor, and the wall will be rebuilt in exactly the same spot, but slightly higher. The porches that have awnings now that do not require any runoff protection or collection will be replaced with a roof, but it'll be open on the water side, screened possibly, but open on the water side and open on the other side, on the
the
left
ends.
or right side, on the ends.
Okay.
And there will be gutters that will take the water off. And again, Matt has set the situation up to accept 4 inches of runoff. I've heard other applicants here be approved for 2 inches. We've done this at 4 inches. And there are, to answer your direct question, there are sliding glass doors, but they are in the same plane as they always are.
All right, so the decks that are going to be replaced and the roofs are going to be the water side of the sliding glass doors that
Yes. but-
exist now, or?
Yes, exactly correct, but
All right.
the decks are already there.
It's just, it's deceiving the drawing.
Probably because you're
It's
looking at it
not,
straight on without
Right.
any depth
yeah,
perception.
there's no depth to it, I
Right,
understand. Okay, thank you.
While I'm here, do you have any other questions? I do want to just say that to the board, we've had a foundation inspection. We believe the foundation is good. But if some little part of it is not good or has had some frost damage or something like that over the last 60 years, we would certainly not expect to replace the entire foundation. We would repair and fix whatever is there. Just want to be fairly clear on that. I mean, you know, you don't need to replace. I did the math before I stepped up here. It's approximately 340 lineal feet of foundation in this house. When you think about it, that's a lot. So if there's one corner that's had root damage or some type of damage to it, you know, we're not going to replace the whole thing for it. We would repair it. Again, Nick has stated that he feels it is capable of accepting the load. And to that end, there is no increase in the overall roof weight or anything else. In fact, it'll probably be less. Well, that's not true. The roof will be more because the insulation values. And along that line, the house right now is probably not very well insulated. This new house will be built totally to the new Energy 2024 IRC Energy Code, International Building Code and energy requirements. Thank you.
Can you, before,
I'm sorry.
rather than me try to explain, can you come up here? If you show me, just explain this to me.
Yes, sir.
This is the left side. This looks like where the deck is located.
Right, okay. So
No, but there's sliders here.
yes, there is. Now let's go to the floor plan. Other way, I'm sorry.
Are you
So-
right up?
Across the front of the house, right here, this is the foundation plan. But this is an existing
Yeah,
outcropping.
yeah, no,
So
I'm
when you
familiar with
look this way, there's gonna be here, let's go to the next page, sir. When you're looking this way, that's the sliding glass door that you'll see. But this butt out is already there. And the deck runs here and the deck runs here like that.
Okay, I'm just,
Okay, so we go back to that. That's the front.
this door seems to be at the end right here.
Yeah, that door, this is the edge of the house. This is the deck from here to here.
Right.
And this is the stick out. See this one here? This one and that one are matched pairs. So you're in a little 8
All right,
by
so
16 foot.
this is actually attached to what the existing.
And that's already there. yeah.
Okay, it looks deceiving. It looks
It
like
loo-
it's new.
Yep. But if you
Okay,
look at
all right.
this elevation right here, this
Yeah, no, I realize this
Yeah,
is,
this
I'm
sticks
familiar
forward.
with
I
it. Okay,
think the number is 8 feet, and that's why you're looking at, it might be 10, I think it's 8. You can tell maybe by this if I take my glasses off and look carefully. Yeah, so you see that sticking out here?
right.
Yeah, okay. It, wow. I guess it's 9, it is 10 feet. Okay, so that is 10 feet.
All right.
So that's-
So this is
but that-
going to remain as decking with a covered.
This is
with a
going to
hard-
remain as
Okay.
decking, this is going to remain as decking, and this is going to remain as this little jut out off of their living room.
That's conditioned space now,
That's
yeah.
conditioned space, yes. Let's go back to this page. Again, this is the conditioned space, this is the garage, it's here. This garage is essentially what's here. And there'll be a deck added on the road side, just in here, that's what they've asked for.
Okay,
All right, does that help
all
you?
right, yes, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for me?
No, we just had brought it up on the screen so that others could see it.
And we're all right?
Any further questions from the table before I open it up to the public?
Also, there's a existing outdoor shower that's being moved. That's in the setback.
Is there a drywall for that shower, James?
That shower is going to be removed to another spot. If it goes to another spot, there will be a drywall.
Oh, yeah, where's the CAC, when they had asked about the drywall for the swimming pool? Is there one?
I don't know that. But if there isn't, they'll install one.
that in as a stipulation. Is there anyone in the fiscal audience who has any questions? Anyone on Zoom? Pam?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I'm just confused by this project. I'm not really certain what the total square footage is. Because the existing house square footage isn't really shown, and on the application, it shows they're going up to over 3,000 square feet. And there's 2,900 something square feet on the first floor. I looked the house up and it says that it's only 2,828 square feet right now. So this is quite a bit of increase in bulk, regulations, and this hasn't gone before the ZBA yet. They haven't decided on this project at all. So
And before the DBA.
I was just a little, I was a little confused about the measurements and all of that on this job. And then the other thing that the CAC said that they wanted to make sure was whether or not there was going to be sonotube used to support this deck that's going to be turned into a porch. And they had an objection to that in the very first memo they wrote on this project.
I did say that we would put concrete in there. Whether it's sonotube or not.
Thank you. Anyone else? Steve Leventhal, I have a question for you. This is before the ZBA. They're going to be discussing it on Wednesday night, and then they will make a determination the following week, most likely. Do we need to wait until that is finalized before we close this public hearing?
Well, that depends on whether there's a chance that the applicant will ask to amend the application. If there's no amendment to the application, there's no need to keep the public hearing open.
We do not know the answer to that.
I don't believe that there will be.
Should we wait and verify that there's no issue with the ZBA?
Yeah, Christina, you, who's it,
The hearing,
our liaison?
yeah. They haven't indicated that they're gonna want any amendments to the application.
But they just closed the public hearing.
Right. So, they have to have a
Probably want
discussion.
the engineer's report certified.
Yeah, yes,
Well, that could be a condition to.
there could be written correspondence. So I'm just trying to decide whether or not we close or adjourn before we move to figuring out timing.
Or allow written submissions on comments to anything that the ZBA might decide.
Yeah. So,
Doesn't sound controversial, like it doesn't feel like it's gonna change. So.
yeah, they haven't indicated that they're gonna change anything, but if the work session's on Wednesday, then we can keep it open for written submission for 2 weeks, but they'll discuss it then, and if they want anything, then they'll ask for it at that work session, and we'll know.
Can I still?
Sure.
I just want to say, there was a comment about sonotubes. Sonotubes and concrete are really the same thing. That is our intention to do that. As far as the square footage of this building, it is 27 square feet bigger than the existing house. And that is that there is a recessed front door, and that's roadside door, that's in by 3 feet, 7 feet. That is going to be filled in. There's already a roof over it. Other than that, the square footage of this house is not changed at all. In fact, as James said, because we would use 2x6 walls, the net math, because the walls are 50% thicker in approximately 340 linear feet of walls. Well, that's not right because they don't have the garage. So let's say 260 feet of walls. That's if you take that number, you're probably coming in that it's actually a little bit smaller living space on the inside. What is increasing is the volume of the house, because instead of having 4-inch pitch for architectural reasons, they wanted to have something that looked more like a nice house rather than a couple of 2x2 trailers. So that 4-inch pitch, looks pretty dated and stuff. And on the road, on the water side of that, we have some shed dormers. Again, they have no function except to let some light in and look architecturally more nice, more attractive from both the inside and the outside. So people are asking to spend quite a lot of money to really make this house look nice. I mean, they could very easily just say, the hell with it, we'll take the vinyl siding off, we'll put some shingles on there, put some new windows in it and be done with it, but they don't want to do that. They really want to dress this place up. They want to modernize the bathrooms, modernize the bedrooms, clean up the design, and they're really asking for very little from an environmental standpoint in exchange for a house that would really be a benefit to the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
So, the ZBA will discuss the application at their March 19th work session, and then they have a March 26th meeting or hearing where they'll probably do the resolution for
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say the determination.
So we have our next board meeting on the April 7th.
Mhm.
So we could probably leave it open to written correspondence until after the ZBA approves or does their resolution, so maybe until March 27th. And then that gives us a week or so to just take into account any ZBA issues, which I'm not really anticipating, but then that kind of keeps the timeline moving.
Let me just look at the,
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
James, what is the age of the house and the foundation?
Age of the house is approximately 1960, early 1960.
The 60s? Okay.
59, 60.
Because I noticed it's a block foundation. I was just concerned about when we talked about replacing certain portions of it. I think I was just concerned about how old that block,
Looks fine, it appears serviceable, and the engineer.
it's always when you start something open, when you have block, it can grow. I guess that's what I was concerned about. But you've already had somebody and you'll supply a, fine. Okay.
The frame is going to stay on top of it.
Right.
It sort of solidifies it.
so I was looking for the calendar, so I was saying, you were saying written correspondence until,
April 7th.
March,
March 26th is when
the
they,
ZBA
will
will
make
have
their
their
determination. So I was gonna say written,
So,
yeah, because we'd want written correspondence by the 28th, which does not give a lot of time based on the,
well, it's really so that we can get the ZBA's ruling. I mean, I'm not anticipating
That they have
comments,
anything.
right?
Yeah.
But we're not really going to respond to the ZBA. They do their thing, and then we
Yeah.
just accept it. So it's really just to get their resolutions.
and
And
written
then,
correspondence to the
28th.
March 28th, and then we would pick it up at the April 1st work session.
we could discuss it
Okay.
before then, and then just review it again at the April 1st work session to incorporate whatever the ZBA has, but
Mhm.
we could do the bulk of it sooner. And then if we had any questions, we could ask
Mhm.
for written response.
How does everyone feel about that?
Okay, what's the date?
Written correspondence through March 28th.
Right.
So it picks up the ZBA's determination, and then, so we would pick it back up no later than April 1st.
Okay.
All right.
Okay with that, and we'll get the engineering report
Yes. and the
for the
engineering
written
report,
correspondence.
Yes.
It's fine.
Okay. Right, that's how we will proceed. So we will close it,
Thank you.
except for written correspondence through March 28th.
We can always talk about it at a work session sooner, and then if anybody here has questions they want clarified, we can get those done before the ZBA.
I think we'd want to wait until after the ZBA discusses it, just so if there's something coming down the pike that looks like we have issued, have time. So we will now open the public hearing on the dock application of Beach Glass Properties LLC. Amber?
On the application of Beach Glass Properties LLC, care of Jack Morgani, 21 Tar Kettle Road, for permission to remove from existing dockage facility a existing 5-foot by 19-foot and 6-foot by 20-foot floats, install one 6-foot by 20-foot float secured by two 10-inch diameter pilings adjacent to existing fixed dock, as depicted on the project plan prepared by Ian Consultants, last dated November 18th, 2024.
Thank you. Does anyone have the WMAC
I have
report?
it up right here.
Oh, I have it.
Are we reading?
Yeah, I have it. I'm just reading it here from,
Did Amber have written correspondence? Yeah, Amber, do you have what written correspondence received on this?
I had one email from Peter Reich in support of this application.
Got it.
You can read the business here.
All right, all right, it's getting a little noisy in here. So actually, yeah, I didn't have that written down. So Amber, do you have it handy to read into the record?
I do not. It was a one sentence liner that he was in favor of this application.
Okay.
I have the WMAC report.
Go.
I will try to pull it up.
Yeah, they're removing two floats and the pilings that they're attached to the floats. They're taking those out and they're putting a float parallel to the dock. So there's a reduction in the nonconformity of the dock, and the WMAC voted 6-0 with one abstention.
Do you remember what the abstention was for? I can't remember.
What?
Do you remember what the abstention was for, the reason for it?
Yes. Mayor.
There you go.
Good. All right. And we have Rob Herman here on behalf of the applicant, I presume?
Yes, good evening, how are you? Rob Herman, Event Consultants, on behalf of the applicant. Pretty straightforward application. It's an existing fixed dock that's been present since prior to 1977. It can be seen on the New York State Tidal Wetlands maps, and the DEC has recognized it as such and issued a permit for the proposed project. The project before you tonight is to remove two existing floats, which are 5 by 19 and 6 by 20 in area, so totaling 215 square feet, and replacing them with a single new float, 6 by 20 in dimensions, or 120 square feet, so a net reduction, as Al just alluded to, in 95 square feet. The new float would be located inside or within the seaward limit, both of the existing fixed pier and the most seaward float that is being removed. Also, as Al mentioned, it reduces the nonconformity of a pre-existing dock, and that's really all there is to it. We have New York State DEC permit, New York State Department of State. The Army Corps of Engineers confirmed today they're in the process of writing up their approval. They've just been waiting for the receipt of the concurrence letter from the Department of State. So for all intents and purposes, your board is our last stop that would enable the applicant to get this work done for this voting season.
Do you anticipate that report coming in from the Army Corps of Engineers?
Oh, the Army, probably within, I would say probably a week or so, based on the email I got from the project manager today. They'd been ready to issue it probably for about 2.5 months, but Department of State is dragging a little bit, and they just recently issued their concurrence letter within the past couple of weeks.
Any questions from the table? No. Any questions from the fiscal audience? Any questions from the Zoom audience? A motion to close this public hearing? What was that? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
Unrelated to this.
Yes.
Could you give me a call tomorrow morning about a different project?
I'm sorry?
Can you give me a call tomorrow morning about another project?
Yes. Also unrelated to this, Meg saw that I was trying to sneak in a comment before. The Laserfish system is fantastic. The town of Southold uses it. You can get deeds, COs, building permits, wetland permits, everything. It enables your applicants to be much better informed about the history of the projects or their property, and less reason to say they didn't know. And it takes a lot of burden off the staff too, because you're not constantly, searching for records and printing out things and, putting in the mail. So it should make the town more efficient as well. It's a really good system. So.
Thank you,
hear
Rob.
that.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. All right, and the next item on the agenda is reconvening the public hearing for the site plan application of Gardeners Bay Country Club. And we did get some additional information in today, which the board has not had an opportunity to digest. So we will definitely not be closing this public hearing tonight. But what I wanted to know is if the start off with the applicant, did you want to present any of the information that was submitted today or address it at all?
We were just gonna let you guys review it. We were actually thought the meeting was next week, so we didn't put that in just because the meeting was tonight. We thought we would give you guys a week, so we figured you guys really had a chance to review it, but we're interested to see what everybody else has to say, so.
I see that Caitlin and Teresa, you both turned your video on. Were there any questions, comments that you wanted to ask?
Anything. I had started the review, but there are some questions that I wanted to speak to Caitlin about internally, which I sent her an email about.
Good evening. So I'm still also digesting the information. I have some information that has been submitted, not all, until we get everything. I don't have any questions at this time.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address this application?
Stephen Jacobs on behalf of the Hay Beach Association. I'm pinch hitting for Bill Mastro, who can't be with us tonight due to a medical, actually dental thing. We also just found out today about the posting and haven't had a chance to digest it, and I think it probably makes more sense rather than trying to wing it, to wait until we've digested it. And also, it's actually happy to hear that the club thought the hearing was a week away because we had a bit of a reaction to seeing it being posted today. If the club were to respond to the last letter that we sent, the letter on February 25th, that obviously would be helpful. We know they responded to the letter we submitted on February 11th, but we submitted a response to that. And if the club were to respond, that would help things. But thank you.
Anyone else in the physical audience?
Dave Ruby, I'm Bay Beach Board. This is housekeeping. I noticed the presentation from Ben Howells included it's called progress drawing. If we could get the current drawing or the final drawing, that would help. How should I submit it? Can you do that request?
Well,
How do you do these?
I don't know which one you're.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a number on it? Has we received? Yeah, there was.
It was in his visuals.
Because we received phases 1, 2, 3 today,
This is
so
what he
those should
presented
be
to the-
posted.
He presented at the town meeting.
Yeah, we did receive some updated ones today, so we might be on the,
Yeah, you can have it.
if you want to see.
Oh, is this, we can keep this? Okay, all right, because then we can compare it to what we received.
Okay.
Yeah, overall plan, December 2nd, 2023, 101. Okay, we will.
There are some new drawings on the website,
Oh.
so
Yeah, so
they
could
just
be one
came
of
in
those.
today. They'll be on the website and they'll be posted. They came in.
All right.
Take up your space with the drawing.
I will give this to Christina to match up with Dana. Anyone else in the physical audience? If you'd come up.
We had asked for that parent drawing that they had, so we haven't seen that. We were curious to see what that is. We had asked for it after the last meeting, but it was never sent to you guys, which was requested. I did send Amber the updated current irrigation map that is in the ground right now and has been with the building department for over a year. So this map, I've never seen it, so we would like to see that if possible.
If you want to check in with Christina, tomorrow, we'll have, we do have large scale copy machines. We'll find it.
So we responded to the Hay Beach letter once. Are we gonna continue to keep responding to them, or are we responding to the PWGC? It feels like the club might be kind of getting pulled in a couple different directions. We just want to know what we have to answer, so we don't come to this meeting next time and then say we didn't respond to something. You know, the club kind of feels in limbo, like we're trying to answer everybody's questions, but we don't know who we're supposed to be listening to. So the PWGC report is what we should be paying attention to and responding to, or
Definitely, because that's,
and the Hay Beach, association's request, because every time we respond, then they send back another, so we just want to know how long this is gonna get. Their questions are different from you guys, is what I'm saying.
yes. You're not required to respond to their request. However, it would probably be in your best interest to.
No, I'm just curious. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else in the physical audience before I go to the Zoom audience? Anyone in the Zoom audience?
May I just ask, is there more information now that's come in on this project now that things have been revised again or something? Because I guess knowing that the irrigation plan has been brought to the board is great, of what's actually existing today. And I think that that's important to have, but I'm a little concerned about the surfactants that they're planning to use and actually the whole concept of this project on that level. Given that depending upon what surfactant wetting agent they use in this irrigation system or in conjunction with irrigating, because that's what you need to do when you use a wetting agent, is what type of wetting agent they're thinking of using. I mean, that's just something that I'm very curious about. There are a lot of manufacturers, many different chemical compounds, a lot of different environmental ecotoxicity reports, depending on which one they choose to use on the site. So if perhaps by the next public hearing, when this is re-adjourned, we could have an answer to that, that would be really great. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Amber, I thought we had discussed, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. No. I thought we had discussed that PW Grosser report from the 20th. If you recall, we had the report and then the application changed because they were removing the collection. But I thought we had determined at that time that this was, that report would be available to the public and we would put resubmission on it so that the public could see that report that they haven't not seen. And we spoke to Stephen Leventhal about it, and he said that it would be, should be available. I mean, you could foil it, but we had discussed that it was going to be on their website, and there was going to be a marking on it of a resubmittal or something to that extent.
Superseded.
Superseded, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I thought, Amber, I know she had shown me a copy of one that had superseded.
Superseded?
Yes, I thought it had, but
I don't see it on the website. That's why I was asking.
But what was decided was that we could release it to the public through Stephen Leventhal, that we write superseded on it so the public would not get confused with the most recent report that we were actually using to discuss. As they were decided to put it on the website, and it was left at that. We never had a discussion whether to post it. It was decided whether to post it on the website, but it was decided to write superseded, and if someone asked for it, we would give it to them.
I thought we decided to post it.
I thought we decided to post it. That's what I thought. I don't think the public has this. Even though it's not pertinent, the town, well, the taxpayers paid for the report. And I thought we had decided that that was going to be superseded.
Yes, Steve. Do you recall?
I don't recall in particular a decision whether to post it or not. But I do recall that my recommendation was that it be made available to the public and marked that it was superseded so as not to cause confusion. As to posting it on the website, I think the board is free to make a decision about that either way.
Yeah, my only concern is just creating confusion.
It is part of the record.
Yeah.
You can't unring the bell.
So for the public to get it, they would have to foil it?
At the moment, but we can,
I would be in favor of posting it on the website. I thought that's what we were gonna do.
Well, I thought that's what we had already
okay,
agreed to.
all right,
so.
then. That's what we'll do. Yeah, okay.
They paid for it, so.
Okay. Right, Dave?
I realize I have some information on that copy. Can I provide you with a clean copy?
Oh, sure, yes,
Email's good?
yes, yes. So you'll send that to Amber Wilson, and then Amber Wilson will send it on to Gardner's Bay Country Club. Any other questions? Physical audience, Zoom audience? Okay, so we will adjourn this public hearing until April 7th. And we will go back into the regular part of the meeting. If there's any public comment. Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Second that motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.